but they must be able to see. It was the webcam that was the problem, wasn't it?
Right, okay, we're going to get going. And we hope that you can see us out there viewing on the internet. We've had some terrible computer problems this week, and I'm hoping this will resolve them. So good afternoon, everybody. The audience here in Warwick live, and to Ravi Kumar, my co-commentator, and to everybody out there watching. It's time for the commentary in round 8 of the British Chess Championship, and we've got some interesting pairings here. Have we got any games on the? Have we got any moves in the live games?
We have now, apparently.
Right. So board 1, Nick Pert against Danny Gormally. Nick Pert, of course, was incredibly fortunate yesterday against David Howell, wasn't he?
Yeah. And they were analysing the game bit down, and you know, that rook into e5. However, you know, he just got the reversal of move. He was planning queen at 7.
Yes.
Rook g6, and then rook takes e5.
Yes, yeah.
So he should have gone rook takes e5, queen at 7.
And then?
And but it was inconclusive.
No.
It's just, I think, the way he played out the game. You know, he allowed all this massive advantage. You know, I mean, we thought that, you know, Howell is going to, you know, get, but he had to give up a pawn, and then, you know, things didn't work out. So, but that doesn't change the final run in this tournament. He's still half a point behind. And if you see the scores, there are 2 leaders with 6 points playing each other in this round. So any decisive game in that could possibly set the trend. Like, it would be half a point ahead if Howell wins or Hawkins wins against Howell. And if that ends in a draw, and if either Nick Pert or Danny Gormally wins, then they have a 1-point lead with 3 rounds to go. So that is going to be the crucial factor here.
Let us see some moves, please.
Yeah. So this is another bizarre opening coming up. D4, N6.
Okay, D4, Knight F6. Knight F3.
Knight F3, E6.
Okay, so Gormally deviates from his King's Indian defense.
Yeah, he didn't want to repeat again.
Yep.
E6. C4.
Yep.
Bishop B4 check.
Yes.
The old Indian, is it? Or
Bogo Indian.
Bogo Indian.
Yep.
Bishop D2.
Yep.
I always thought Knight BD2 was the best try against this, and then you win the bishop pair. But apparently, is that different? I mean, my first thought, you know, I don't even consider Bogo Indian like, you know, a main opening repertoire. You know, it's played.
Well, the nice thing about having your own computer is you can consult all the files on it. We don't want that. What's that? That's the memory stick, isn't it? I want to get rid of that.
My database.
My database, yeah. So I've got the transcript of my DVD that I recorded for Chessbase on the Bogo Indian here, which is actually very handy. So this is the section we're interested in. The aggressive C5 is called the Vitalich variation. So we've got plenty to look at if we don't know what variation we're doing here, because after Bishop D2 he plays C5, did he not?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a perfectly good move.
Am I right in assuming Knight BD2 is kind of...
Well, Knight BD2 is just another move, isn't it? I mean, that's not the best square for the knight.
Yeah.
So many grandmasters just prefer to play very straightforwardly Bishop D2.
Okay.
And C5 is one of the more modern ways to treat the variation.
Yeah.
Of course, you allow white to take, doubling your pawns, but in return you get a lot of interesting play for your pieces, and you might be able to fashion the pawn chain to your design. Bogo Indian is a very flexible opening, especially with pawns, and looks a bit weak, this pawn on b4, but black's idea is just to put all his pawns on black squares. D6, queen e7, maybe e5, and then this pawn is quite annoying for white because it stops the knight from coming out to a good square.
So a3, just get rid of the pawn. That's
a3.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a straightforward move. That's not supposed to lead to anything for white, and black should take that pawn.
No, he played queen e7.
Right. Well, that is slightly unusual. Again, having this is very handy because I can just go boom and we can see what's been played. So all B takes a3s with a very few queen e7s. Let's have a look at the reference database. Oh, it's so nice to be able to use my own computer. Right, okay. Yeah, so what do we see? We see that B takes A3 is played very often in this position. Queen e7 is a lesser move. Only played 19 times in the mega database. And Black's results do not appear to be that great. In fact, Black is getting hammered according to the statistics. So I suppose the thing is, do you really need to put your queen on e7 at this point? You're kind of committing it, aren't you? Because the idea, as I say, is to go d6 and then e5. Well, the queen is needed to protect this pawn. I'm just wondering whether that is the best move.
Yeah.
So what did Pert do? e3?
No, there's no more moves.
Well, he's thinking about e3 or g3, isn't he? One or the other. I think he could have expected probably just pawn takes pawn. And then I think the best move for white is to take with the rook.
Yeah.
So as to be able to put the knight on c3. Well, queen e7, okay, it's an unusual move. Let's see what my engine thinks of it. D for it's 14. Queen e7. Doesn't think it's that bad. c5 and e3 are the moves coming up here. We've got Stockfish obviously on the right. Well, I mean, if Gali played it, it can't be that bad because, you know, he must have looked at it beforehand. It's a quiet type of position. I just expect Pert to play G3. That's just normal sort of setup he plays. And so one could expect this type of thing. Perhaps Gali's last move slightly surprised him because, as we've seen, it is slightly unusual. So C5, is that an attempt to sort of cut the pawn off on B4?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too early to play C5. I mean, what kind of structure, as you were saying?
Well, it's been played a few times.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the best players to have played it. Maduna, and quite an old move there. That more or less forces a capture on A3.
Yeah, but I don't think that's typical Nick Pert move. You know, he would play something like E3, you know, build up the position, and then he would like Black to play pawn takes A3, where then he can play rook takes A3, and then, you know, he can claim some kind of a slight edge in that position.
All right, well, that's Pert against Gali. Now we come to Hawkins against Howell. Another interesting matchup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because two of the favourites of the tournament, and this is a very big game for both of them.
Yeah.
I expect the same type of thing from David Howell. You know, very slow play, using the clock as a kind of weapon. You know, trying to create some sort of psychological pressure on the opponent by playing very, very slowly. But of course, Hawkins with white is a very formidable player, isn't he?
Yeah, but there's a little bit of difference here. He arrived on time.
Yeah, well,
you know, after yesterday's, you know, whatever happened yesterday must have prompted him. He's got 1 hour and 30 minutes on his clock, which means despite making all those moves, and it's Hawkins who is behind in time. So
okay, let's see what he came up with.
Nimzo Indian,
Nimzo Indian.
F6,
Okay.
C4 E6.
Yeah.
Knight C3, Bishop B4.
Okay.
And now Queen C2.
A Capablanca variation.
Yeah.
All right. So.
And I thought C5 was the main thing here, but now they play D5 as well. So he played D5.
Well, you can also castle. That's probably the most common of the lot.
Yep.
So D5. Okay.
And then C takes D5.
Yes.
Queen takes D5.
Okay.
And then the normal and the quiet move E3. So basically, white is saying that, you know, your queen has been deployed too early, and you know, you might have to give up the bishop pair at some time. And so Black had to play, you know, take some action by C5. You know, I think this Queen D5 is kind of looks, you know,
it's double-edged, isn't it?
Huh?
It's very double-edged.
It's very double-edged
because although White's play looks quiet, Black's pieces are a little bit exposed, so he's got to be careful. Now, the last move E3 blocks in the bishop, so White's development is probably going to be a bit slower than normal. So that means that Black should take energetic action, maybe C5, maybe E5. Rather quickly. So what did he do?
He played e3 and black played c5,
Okay.
and then bishop to d2.
Very quiet play by Hawkins, isn't it?
Yeah,
But of course,
bishop
this
takes
now
c3.
forces a concession.
Bishop takes c3.
Yes.
C takes d4.
No, hang on. Bishop takes c3. Bishop takes c3.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
didn't want to go to the double HB into c3. So c takes d4, bishop takes d4,
Yep.
and knight c6 on the bishop, and now bishop takes f6. It looks quite committal, you know. I mean, like, you know, it's just so many pieces have been, you know, just like a vacuum taken out.
So pawn takes f6.
Pawn takes f6.
Right.
And
Let's
then
a quick check. Quick
knight,
check. What we can check.
Yeah. Knight.
So we will.
Yeah.
It's very common. Looks like lots of the world's strongest players have played it. Karyakin, Anand, Kramnik, Mickey Adams, Anand, Naidic. Well,
So
and a lot of draws by the look of it.
Yeah.
Looks like it could be the prelude to Grandmaster draw number 48 or something.
Yeah.
Look at all those draws at the top end. So why do they draw? Because this is not exactly a balanced position, is it? Okay, on with this. Well, what happened next?
So knight e2, bishop d7.
Knight e2, bishop d7. Yep.
A3.
A3 to cut down on the knight's activity.
Yeah. Queen e5.
Queen e5. Yes.
Yeah. And the point of queen e5 is that, okay, what is White's problem? White has fallen behind in development to a certain extent. And if you play knight c3, there might be a knight d4 at the right time.
Not necessarily now.
Not necessarily now. So, and black is going to put one rook on c8. Looks like the way, you know, he's going to put one rook on c8 and one rook on g8. And so white has to possibly castle on the queen side now. So knight c3, threatening to long castle.
That's not the game.
Wasn't played. I'm suggesting knight c3.
Well, we can soon find out. Let's find out. Just press a button. Knight c3 5 times been played by Kasparov, Barayev, or rook d1.
Yeah.
It's game 2 of Kasparov and
Your wish is my command. Shall we play through the notes? Let's not. Right.
So I'm expecting knight c3 here.
So white's got a structural advantage, but on the other hand, black is slightly ahead in development, and he's got a very active queen.
Yeah. Knight c3 played in the game.
Knight c3 played in the game, yep.
Okay, barring, and now Howell has gone knight d4.
Knight d4 played in 5 games with a 60% score for white.
So is it queen d1 now?
Barayev Adams. Some quite high-powered games in this line, and white chooses between queen d3 or queen to d1.
So what is the plan after queen d1? Are you going to play something like knight f5 or?
Well, black almost always plays knight f5, doesn't he?
Yeah, queen d1, knight f5. Then, you know, queen
d1 or queen d3, knight f5.
Queen d3, I don't like knight b3.
Really? Is that a good move? Rook d1?
Bishop c6. Oh, you got some knight moves now, is it?
Okay, it's quite a hard position.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thoughts are saying, you know, just play safe and solid. Queen d1, push the knight to f5, and then bishop to e2. When the bishop comes to c6, just play bishop f3. But black might have something here. He's certainly solved all the problems for...
Well, I mean, there's a marginal plus for white. Over 5 games, you can't really read very much into that.
But how is he going to solve the problem of the bishop on f1? So if you play Queen D1, Knight F5.
I must admit, I think he will play Queen D1 because you're not blocking in your bishop. Simple as that.
No. Queen D3 is blocking in the bishop. So Queen D1, Knight F5.
Yep.
And Black has some threats on G2, and not necessarily take on E3 is not an option. And now White needs a good move to kind of try to equalize, because now after Queen D1 and Knight F5, the problem you have is that if you go Bishop E2, he goes Bishop C6, or he goes Bishop E2, Knight H4, G3, and then Bishop C6. It's White hasn't shown anything.
Okay, say I play for an advantage this way. Bishop D3.
Bishop D3, Knight H4.
Yeah, that is an awkward move. Oh, is it so awkward? I was expecting Bishop C6.
Well, Bishop C6.
I was thinking I was going to hoover off the knight after that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, it might be still slight edge for yeah.
I think Bishop it is a slight edge.
Yeah, very slight edge for Black.
This position?
Yeah, after Queen F5.
Slight edge for Black?
Yeah. I have the bishop on the long diagonal.
Slight edge for White.
Have you dropped a pawn after Queen G5? Maybe better edge for White.
I hope not.
You got King F2.
It's a good move.
Oh, this is definitely walking into trouble.
Right, but let's turn on the machine. We'll find out who's right here. Nobody's right. It's equal.
No. Wait for the assessment.
I'm waiting. It's level.
So Rook G8, G3, H5. I mean, but this is unnatural for White to play like that. I mean.
Yeah, but you're saying the whole variation is unnatural in this case because it's like forcing from this position, isn't it?
No, you can't play Bishop F5. Now he's played Queen D3 now after some trot.
Queen D3?
Yeah, and we're still theory, and because now Knight F5.
3 games. Barayev Adams, Barayev Gelfand.
Okay, so what's the move now? Knight
F5.
F5. Yeah, can we play it on the board then, please?
We can. And White plays E4 or Bishop E2 after that. I think E4 looks a bit more forcing, doesn't it?
I don't like E4. You're not even attacking anything, It's too early to play E4. You need to play something like Bishop E2, Bishop C6, and then Rook G1.
So it's not really our type of position, is it, Ravi?
No.
That's what's coming across.
Yeah, it's kind of making me very uncomfortable because you're given the lead in development for Black, and Black is, I think, he's got 2 major things here. One is Bishop C6, Bishop on the long diagonal, and you can't really do that one. And if you Knight F5, what happened if you long castle? I mean, you decide to go on the other.
Knight F5, castle on the queen side.
Yeah. Knight F5 played in the game, so we have Knight F5 already. So long castle now.
Well, will he do the same?
Yeah.
Why can't he do the same? Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, you no longer I can play simply Bishop E2 here.
Yeah, but you said you like Black's position. I mean,
long castle. I was going to play Bishop C6 actually, not.
Bishop C6.
Yeah, I want to make that F1 bishop as much uncomfortable as possible.
It's a pretty strange position. Is there also Queen E4 here? Is that a possibility? I suppose he just goes Bishop C6, does he?
Yeah.
But then I don't know. Is White a little bit better after this? Looks like a Keith Arkle game, A lot of pieces have been hoovered off the board and not a lot of action taking place.
So what's the theory after Knight F5?
Theory after Knight F5, lazy man's guide to chess. Here we go. E4 or Bishop E2?
E4, 75% it says.
Yeah, but that's based on 1 win.
So what's that Adam games? Barayev Adam. When was that played?
2003.
Way back.
And that went E4, Knight E7, both sides cast on the queen side. So it's something like this is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkins is quite nicely prepared. And And the thing about e4, although it doesn't attack, it sets up the threat of long castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the move, and he played e4 now.
Played e4. Okay, we'll go on to another game and come back to that in a moment.
Yeah.
Right, so they're still playing out theory. Arle versus Summerscale. Will we see the same Keith Arle we've seen in previous days? Just technical play.
Yeah, but Keith Arle is white now. He's not going to do.
Well, don't forget the way he played against. Who was that guy he's played bishop takes f6 against? So d4, okay.
d5,
d5, yes.
c4, c6.
Not the exchange Slav, please.
Knight f3, knight f6.
Please, not the exchange
Knight
Slav.
c3, a6. This chameleon.
Aha. Chepanenko variation.
Yeah, and then e3,
Fine.
and now e6.
Okay. Now this was Alan plays this, doesn't he?
Yeah.
This way of playing with black.
But I thought the idea was bishop g4 and take the knight and then play e6.
Well, that's one way to play the position, isn't
Yeah.
it? Bishop g4 is possible. Bishop f5 is possible. E6 is just another move.
So white went a4 to stop any further expansion on the queen side.
Okay, now I seem to remember some games where c5 was played. Do you remember that? Was there a game against Magnus Carlsen from their World Championship match like this? We can find out quite easily.
Click Elo white, please. Yeah.
Okay, well, Kasparov is the highest ranked player with white, who plays Aronian and okay, this is played at the highest level, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if we want to find out how common Keith's move is, we just hit reference. And on the charts, A4 is weighing in at 6th place.
Keith is playing white.
Yeah, I know, A4.
So Keith playing white a4 looks like a logical move, you know.
It's also very committal, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's quite committal, and it's like very similar in Slav, where you know the bishop can be slotted on b4 for a long time, and then you know, and then you can have a typical c5. So here, you know, black went c5 straight away.
That's the most common move.
And then c takes d5, d takes d5, bishop e2, and this is now hopefully going to turn out into some kind of a isolated pawn where white is going to try to get the d4 square. Can you highlight the d4 square, please? So that
If we must, there it is.
Yeah, there is a square that the knight could appear.
That is the square d4.
Yeah, so black played knight c6,
Make it green.
castles,
Knight c6.
castle, and then bishop d6, and now Keith Arle plays b3.
Yeah, and this is the difference between positions where white hasn't played a4 and positions where white has played a4, because this is like, what is it, a Panov Botvinnik Caro-Kann or a Queen's Gambit accepted the other way round, where white has played this very dodgy looking move a4, because
It's also
it's quite important to, you know, to concede this square on the queen side. So black could be very happy with this position. It's not that easy for Keith to play. And is one plan even to go c4 for black here?
Yeah.
So maybe that white has to stop it.
Yeah, and I think there was a line in the Queen's Gambit Accepted that I used to work with the Croatian grandmaster, and he used to be fond of a structure like this, where he allows and plays very simple b3, and then when black gets in b5, he throws in a4, and that weakens the whole structure in the queen side. But here, white is reluctant to play d into c5 because that's going to give extra impetus for black to get some control on d4 and push it. So he's waiting for black to do that.
Well, if I was black, I'd just castle. I mean, castles is reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah, castles is reasonable, and then you might just put the bishop on b2. So the plan for Keith Arle is going to get isolated pawn for his opponent, and then, you know, create some play on that.
Lots of games, not especially good scores for white after pawn takes pawn.
Yeah, c takes d4 played in the game, and
C
knight
takes
takes d4.
And then knight takes d4. Yep. Okay.
There's another question, Andy. I wanted to ask is that does Aaron Summerscale play frequently like other grandmasters, or
No, I think he plays infrequently. This is like a holiday tournament for him.
okay?
Why did you ask?
The reason is, we saw him in earlier rounds, and now he's suddenly appeared like in the top. He's in board 3, so must have done something right,
Timing his late run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's a strong player. I mean, he's a grandmaster, low rating for a grandmaster, but that's because he hasn't been playing.
So,
I don't like White's position very much. I think this doesn't feel right to give that square away so early in the game. I don't like it very much.
so c takes d4, knight takes d4. What I'm thinking in terms of White to play, he hasn't made a move yet. What I'm thinking for White to do is definitely put the bishop on b2, and then somehow create some counterplay on the c line.
Right, we'll have our first competition of the afternoon. All we have to do, he hasn't played a move, is to predict Aaron Summerscale's next move. You stick your hand up, you reserve a move, and we'll take it from there. How many options are there? And I'm going to give away Grandmaster Chess Move by Move by John Nunn. Now, that is a pretty good prize. Pretty good prize for doing not very much. Putting your hand up, saying a move. Right, you were first. You are going to reserve castles. Okay, anybody else? Hang on a sec, you were next. Knight takes d4?
No, knight b4.
And you're reserving knight b4, right? Okay, anybody else? Where's that gentleman who always played h4? Didn't matter what the position was, he just played h4. Yes, please. Knight e5, okay. Knight e5. Yes, sir. Queen e7 is the correct move, sir. Right, well done. Give him a round of applause. There are 3 parts to this equation. Number 1, you have to get the move right. Number 2, you have to explain it. Why is that superior to other alternatives, in your view? It does. Anything else? I'll give you a clue. Give you a clue. Some people like to conceal their intentions, but I can see from his face he's a bit of an open book. He's eyeing the h2 square. Anything else?
Does anybody else want to?
No. You won the prize.
Okay. Just wait for White to present himself for starting.
All right, sir. Part 3 of the equation is the pleasant bit. You come and pick up your book. Congratulations. Right, give him a round of applause. Very good. And he gets a very nice prize in return. You didn't see that move played in the tournament, did you? No. Okay, great. It's good to hear.
So what is the idea of Queen e7?
Mate on h2.
Yeah, mate on
How
h2.
can I put it more bluntly?
Okay. So what's wrong if I just play bishop b2?
Bishop b2.
Queen e5, I pull my knight back to f3. You got a queen. Your queen has to move, and then I'm putting pressure on d5.
All right, come on then, Ravi. Pull the knight back.
Knight f3.
Queen h5. I'm going to play subtly here. Very subtle chess.
So what's he doing? Knight g4 now.
You're very welcome to move that knight on f3 again. I'm just getting my queen in the right place.
Yeah, but you're not threatening anything. So I should go rook c1 now.
Rook c1. Supremely irrelevant. Right, let's keep going. What's time for g3, isn't it?
Yeah, g3, yeah.
Okay. I think I'm okay. Black's fine, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Looks like it.
It just looks like a normal position where White's played this absolutely disgusting move a4. Which clearly helps Black because, the isolated queen's pawn can be attacked. I can even defend it with knight b4 at some point. So queen e7, what are we to find with 3 games, and black hasn't won any of them. So there we are. Bishop b2. Nobody played the crude queen e5. Perhaps that's where they're going wrong. So we get a second opinion on this. No, the engine doesn't like queen e5. Why doesn't it like queen e5? I like that move. What's wrong with it? The queen in the business area. I mean, quite often in these lines, the queen ends up on h6 or h3. You know, so h5 can't be that different, can it? So computer suggesting h3. That will take me about all of half a second to take off. Okay, that won't happen. Right, I think Aaron's emerged from the opening with a perfectly reasonable position, hasn't he?
Yeah, but can I just do prophylaxis and then put the knight back on f3 now, and not put the bishop back on c1?
Okay.
And then just pull the knight back to f3 and say, do not play queen.
He's running scared.
You know,
Are you really attacking this pawn?
yes, sir.
That's what you're saying. Well, say I just defend it.
Yeah. And the principal problem here is that knight on c3, although it's attacking d5, apart from that, that knight cannot be rerouted to a better square. So
Isolated queen's pawn positions are very common in chess. You know, if you want to improve, you've got to study them, because it's a classic battle between dynamics and solidity. The only difference here is that black's got the activity associated with an isolated pawn, but white has played this move a4, which weakens his position. Normally this pawn will be somewhere else. I don't know, a2 probably, and you'd have bishop b2 substituted, and that would be much better, you know, from white's perspective. With the pawn on a, just find it horrible, really.
Yeah.
And that all started when Keith played a4 here, which doesn't really appeal.
So
it's a question of taste.
yeah.
I don't think Keith's going to be able to get his legendary grip on the game here, because black is too active. What Keith likes is to get a grip on the game, trade pieces, enter some sort of technical position, and then grind on. I don't think it's going to be possible here, because black's simply too active. And this idea of transferring the queen is quite a good one, you know.
Yeah, it looks like quite a good one. So
well, first of all, he's thinking. So what is he thinking about? So this is the game position.
In the line that you played queen e5.
Right, this is the position.
Yeah, in the line.
White to move.
Yeah, white to move. Should I now play bishop b2? You also.
Well, I'm going to do it.
Queen e5,
yeah.
And then knight f3.
Yeah, okay.
And now a5. I'm going to put my rook on a4.
What's the idea?
To stop your kingside attack.
Rook h4, then you make me. Is that it?
Bishop c7.
Well, I was bishop b4. Round up the pawn, maybe. Is that so stupid?
Oh,
yeah.
I've come from a boy. What are you going to do about
Your
that?
king is still in.
It is, but I'm going to win a pawn, so I'm a bit early for a5, yeah? I'll take the silence as a yes. Right, so back we go, and Keith's got to justify it from where I'm sitting, this move a4.
Yeah.
Right, okay, which brings us Simon Williams back on the demo boards and playing Mark Hebden, a classic British Championship matchup. Right, okay, so we've got a couple of interesting quiz questions for you this afternoon. Stuart's just given me one, which is very interesting. And there's another interesting one coming up for those watching online, who I'm assured can't hear the broadcast. So, so let's see what happens in this game, this glorious game. I expect a good bit of action.
Yeah. So.
I expect some action.
Yeah. d4.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it.
NF6.
Yep. Knight F6. King's Indian coming up.
Yeah, C4, G6.
Hebden just plays the King's Indian, come what may.
Yeah, NC3.
Williams has been playing the 4 pawns attack in recent times.
BG7,
Yep.
D4,
Yeah.
D6.
Yeah.
And then he plays Knight F3.
Boo, hiss.
Knight
all right,
F3
this can still get
castle,
aggressive. Yeah.
Bishop
H4
E-
yet?
Bishop E2.
God, this is terrible stuff. Go on then.
E5, D5.
Oh, okay, so the Petrosian variation. That's the first big decision of the game.
Yeah, Knight A6. I always thought A5 was necessary first to secure something. You know, A5 was the standard move, and now he's gone Knight A6 straight away.
Well, the old-fashioned move was Knight BD7. When Petrosian was playing this variation back in the 50s, that's what they all played. And the idea is white goes Bishop G5 and then tries to entice a few weakening moves around the black king. But the jury's still out on this variation after 50 years. You know, nobody can decide whether this is good or bad for black. And then they got fed up with weakening their king side. Then they turned to this move, which probably is the main line now. And then I think white goes Bishop G5 anyway. Then black goes Knight A6. That's correct, isn't it?
Yep.
Knight D2, Queen E8, something like that. And black tries to keep it more flexible before he starts advancing his king side pawns. Knight A6 is just another move, Ravi, I'm afraid.
Yep. And he goes Knight D2, showing that some kind of G4 is on the offing.
Okay, so that's slightly unusual. Again, Bishop G5 is more Petrosianic.
Yeah, we have a competition move now.
Right, Knight D2 was played by Simon Williams. And what are we offering? No, that's world champion at the 3rd attempt. Okay, world champion at the 3rd attempt. Very good book, actually. Chess Masterpieces by a correspondence world champion. For that, you have to get Hebden's next move with a full explanation. I'll even help you. There you are. C6.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Bishop B7.
I think this gentleman was next.
Knight C5.
Well, Knight C5, I think that's what White's just played Knight D2 to prevent. Then he'll probably play B4.
Bishop D7, very, very standard move, but not played in the game.
All right, so we've had 3 possibilities now. Remember, this is Mark Hebden. I don't know how helpful that remark is.
The gentleman there.
H5.
H5, incredible. Okay, you're thinking on the same wavelength as Hebden then. Why?
Prevent G4.
You consider that's top priority?
Therefore, it's an odd move. What's the oddest move with it? H5 seems.
Okay.
I think that, you know, H5,
That's a strange move at this stage, isn't it? When black, when white hasn't castled, that could be really risky.
Yeah, but the problem is, and if any other move, white can go G4 and then puts a permanent block on F5, and then it's very hard for black to get anything up, anything up in the king side. Especially you want to play F5, and then once he gets G4, he gets fantastic grip on F5. So can we show that on the board so that, you know, if you played a move, one of the moves, let's take Bishop B7.
All right.
And then let's play G4. And the first thing I would like to show is that knight on D2 is going to reroute itself to E3 or G3. Yeah. And is the one principal thing white will do in this system, as demonstrated by Petrosian in a couple of his games, is not to allow F5.
All the same, we will see what the truth is now. Well, there have been plenty of games. 98 is the most common. C5 has been played a few times. Yeah. C6. I must admit, C6 was the move I would have chosen if I was black.
It's keeping the options open of a queenside play. So after H5,
Well, just hit the reference. Hang on. H5, 30 games, 58% to white.
Excellent. Round of applause for the gentleman.
Yeah, well done. And now I've got A3 as the most common move for white.
Yeah, A3 is played.
Right.
And Hebden goes C5.
Yeah, most commonly played. Not scoring that well for white.
Yeah. Knight F3.
Knight F3, 2 games with a cool 25% and an old Hebden game from 1996. This guy's played more games than you've had hot dinners, man.
That's recent.
Less than 20 years ago. So let's have a quick flick. Let's see it here. Cummings versus Hebden.
Yeah.
I wonder if he recalls this epic encounter.
He played knight H7.
Well, let's see this.
Yeah.
This is Cummings Hebden.
Yeah, that's
We're going to go through it fairly quickly.
Knight H7.
H4. Yeah, knight C7.
No, he plays new move now, F5.
So knight C7. This is the game Cummings Hebden, which Hebden won. He gets his kingside attack anyway. There were some exchanges. David Cummings was, of course, a very strong player, international master. I think he moved to Canada. And this doesn't look that great for him. Perhaps after a game like this, he decided to move out of the country. Yes. Right. So 19 years later, I wonder if Simon Williams realises he's been lured into a 20-year-old improvement. Right, here we go. So
he played knight H7.
Knight F3, knight H7. Yes, getting ready for F5.
Now white went H4.
H4, yes.
Yeah, and now he played his improvement. Spent 20 years preparing this and unleashed F5.
Right, let's have a look. Doesn't mention F5. Thinks white's got an edge.
Yeah, E takes F5.
Stockfish 6 recommends that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bishop takes F5. Yeah.
And now knight D2.
Knight D2. The knight's already been there. And now it comes back.
Yeah.
Right. Bishop F6, Bishop H6.
Knight F6.
Any games? Completely new. Right. So they're on their own.
Knight F6, Knight F1.
So white's threatening to get a knight into E4 and just dominate that square, isn't he? So knight F6 has challenged the square.
Yeah. And now he went knight F1.
Knight F1, coming back to that idea you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I mean, he can dominate the E4 square from G3. And I don't think it would be a good bargain for black to give away that bishop. So when knight G3 comes and the bishop has to pull up, then you have domination of that square.
Well, also, if you have to move your bishop away, then G6 could be very weak, couldn't it?
Yeah. So Queen D7 played.
So he's really going to give up the bishop, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's what he's
I
saying.
think knight G3, he might play bishop G4.
White's been moving that knight around a lot, hasn't he? How many moves has that knight made? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already. Well, what black's ahead in development, isn't he? I mean, that's a simple fact. So,
so my question is, the knight on A6 is a bit misplaced, clearly.
Yeah.
And in the game he played with Cummings, he just rerouted the knight to C7 to E8, and knight G3. He thinks he's going to play bishop G4, allowing F3.
Do you think so? I think on knight G4, he's going to leave the bishop where it is. I think he'll play knight C7.
Yeah.
Because what has white really got a safe haven for his king here? Maybe, I don't know, take the bishop. Is that so easy for black? It's not that easy, is it? You take with the queen.
No, you don't take the bishop, sorry. You
Well,
play bishop G5, put more pieces in good squares before, you know. And then once you work out where that, you know, where that king is going to settle down, that is the game. I mean, like it looks quite nice for white to gain control of that square. So when he goes knight g3 and you decide to leave it, you're playing what move were you playing? You're playing knight c7, and then I was suggesting to flick the bishop onto g5. My idea is that I might at some point take on f6 if need be. Otherwise, I've put my bishop in a good square, and then I might just follow with queen d2 and then long castle.
Well, I must admit, if I was white, I'd be very tempted just to play knight g3 and
play it in the game.
Take off the bishop. He just played it. There you go. And take off the bishop. That bishop, once black has played h5, is guarding the king to an extent. So when white takes it off, this pawn can be very weak. So somehow Hebden's got to work out how he's going to do that. Because he's got to give up the bishop. If he plays bishop g4, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, of course, f3, well, why not? Let's play f3.
Yeah, f3, bishop f5.
Then take it. Then he can take the pawn. That's the difference, isn't it? It's one of those positions I don't really trust for black. I mean, for instance, I suppose f4 is not that great here because he can play this. But it just looks really untrustworthy somehow. It might be okay for black.
Right. Can we shift gears to the top board?
Yeah, we can. So that is definitely leading up to be a very interesting game. Right, so let's get rid of this to get the actual game score. So that's the position in the game, black to move. Right, top board. Okay, so we left it with Gormali playing queen e7, which is not common in comparison with pawn takes pawn. That's by far the most common move. That is a committal move. The queen might not belong on e7 in a variety of positions, but the queen's there anyway. So, all right, well, I expected e3 or g3.
Yeah, e3 played in the game.
e3, okay.
Pawn takes a3.
So he took... Yeah, you see, that's why I think it's better to take now. Because you don't necessarily want your queen on e7.
Yeah. And then...
So he takes...
Rook
Oops,
takes...
didn't do that.
Rook takes a3.
So we got a similar line, yeah. So now black with the queen on e7 is thinking, well, I think he should play d6 and e5.
Yeah, he played d6.
Yeah.
And...
Knight c3?
No, b4. Just grab the space.
b4, grab that space, man. Is it any good? Right, castles?
He did eventually castle, but he played b6. He was possibly afraid I could do something c5, but...
This move?
Yeah, possibly, in the future, not now, straight away. Get my knight in place, and then, he has to stop that particular thing.
Well, he obviously thought that might be a threat. That's why he played b6.
Yeah, and then bishop e2.
Yep.
Bishop b7, castle. Clock time, not displayed.
No games found.
From the looks of it, it looks like, white has a very nice...
No games found. It went off-piste very early. Where did it go off-piste? Here? Let's find out. There's one game. Black won. Under 25 playchess.com blitz. Bye-bye. It's amazing the amount of junk you find in databases these days, They parade a database around with umpteen million games. It's about 5 million of a blitz. Right, okay, back to... We don't want to see Kramer versus Rathman. Right, let's get back to... Have I just deleted the game? I have. That's not very clever, is it? So better get a new game up quickly. No, it's just all right. We're just... it's fine. I can do something here. So, all right. Takes a little while to get it ready. So... You've just got to imagine these players are...
while Andy's answering on that subject that he said, databases is full of junk. I had some interaction with Anand, and one of the things he first does when he gets a mega database or a game, remove all blitz game, remove all blindfold game, remove games that were agreed draw. and he has the database is like so much like only top players that he can trust. So that has been like some of the top players, having their own database, removing all the games played beyond a certain level, and then you have like a database of 2600 plus. You have a database of 2500 plus. People have different approaches, and then take out all the draws, take out all the blitz games. Then you have the games that matter for your preparation.
Right. So after B6,
drawn, the most natural result is just don't count.
Well, for the top players, they feel that they need to see where decisive moves have been made. What is the, and obviously they update their book, they use their engine, and it's quite thing. So we got back to the position.
Yep.
So B6, he's thinking that he doesn't want any C5, early C5 grabbing any space. So bishop E2, that keeps like this is the kind of position white is not too. He first needs to concentrate on getting his development right, and then he can play B5 or C5 as I think. And he also has this open A file, which is kind of it's kind of there will be some pressure on the A7 pawn.
possibly.
So bishop E2 castle, and we don't have clock times because something wrong, the clock is disconnected or something like that. But we shall endeavor to find out when, as and when possible, or possibly, at some point we might ask one of the audience to just go and get us the clock times. It's not displayed there, but we do. I mean, that kind of can tell what's happening, what's the thinking. For 11 moves, how much time they have used.
Okay, well, let's have a look at it from black's perspective. All right, well, if I was black, I'd be thinking, if I allow him some time, he's going to pile up on my pawn at A7, isn't he? So what if I, first of all, play E5?
E5, knight C3. I'm quite happy for you to push forward, but take my pawn on D4, and then you have an isolated pawn on D6.
Well, I want to lure your pawns forward, so let's do this.
No.
And B5, you're going to be on knight A5.
B5, I'll go there.
Yeah, knight A5. Okay, I can see that. So it has to be a kind of a positional move, like queen B3, and then you have ED4.
B3.
I'm quite happy in this position. He's just getting natural.
Let's get my pieces out.
Yeah, and D5.
Yeah, but if you're starting to block the center, then
your knight is going to smithereens. D8.
is it?
Well, where are you going, sir?
Right there.
Right there. And then if I double up the rooks,
I don't panic. Having said that, I've got to find a move.
it's the kind of easy pressure that white can achieve.
So, all right then.
So castles, and then he played the quiet
Bishop
move.
B7.
Yeah, bishop B7, and then white went knight BD2 to control E4, and he thinks that black could play D5 here, or if plays E5, then he can start the next couple of moves could be queen out, rook double on the line with some kind of pressure.
Looks slightly easier for white to play this position than black, doesn't it?
Yeah. So why did he not play on C3? Was it going to get in way of He just, I think, sometimes grandmasters put pieces which are well protected as well. Knight on C3, and the only undefended piece for white looks like the rook on A3. At the moment, it looks safe in terms of piece, and so he must be threatening something like queen out and rook double. So where is the good place for this queen? Is it going to be on C3? Is the white queen need to be on C3 to keep an eye on E5?
Well, what if I was to go queen B3 and then rook FA1?
Yeah,
just
that's
a
the
simple plan.
That's the typical plan. So
Pile up on A7.
yeah. So if black plays knight BD7, let me try to make something for black. Let me play knight BD7.
All right.
And
You're going to go E5.
Yeah, I'm planning to go E5.
Well, it's now you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
A6. So that's what I was thinking, that I'll hold that onslaught on the A line, and then try to do that, and then
Try to play E5. Well, it looks like a sort of nominal advantage to white, but quite difficult to break black's solid position. I think I slightly prefer my queen on C7 in this position rather than E7, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So can I try something drastic for a change? I mean, like in the original position after knight BD2, can I put my knight on C6?
You can try it. Same again.
Can be 3 A5.
Sorry, what?
A5.
There is a problem with live commentary going out online. We need to like to switch change laptops, Andrew. Are you willing to call a break for 5 minutes?
Yes, okay. Can we do that at 4:15?
We can do that. Yeah, if 4:15 is convenient for you, we can call it right then.
4:15, thanks. These problems are dogging the commentary, aren't they? Okay, knight BD2. What is the game position? That is it.
That's it.
Right, so black's thinking. All right, so seeing as we've got to have an enforced break in 5 minutes, we'll just go through the games. So Hawkins versus Howell. E4 was the last move. Howell's still thinking. That's very helpful.
Yeah, we have clock time, though. On this board, we have clock time, which says Hawkins has an hour and 17 minutes, and black is down to 53 minutes. So he has spent about 15 minutes on this particular move.
So how long have we been discussing those games? At least half an hour, and
Yeah.
we come back and he's still thinking.
Haven't decided what time to tweet this evening.
He's wondering which of those two games below he could improve on. Knight E7 was played in both, and then castle on the queen side and queen E3. I mean, is there really any other move apart from knight E7?
You can leave it there.
If you
Castle
come back to
queen.
D4,
Castle queen.
yeah, I suppose you could castle on the queen side, yeah.
Leave. F4. King.
I think isn't there a problem like this? That could be a bit risky, but does win a piece, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. He might well be thinking after the break. Williams versus Hebden. Any moves after knight G3? We have moves.
Yeah. After knight G3, E4.
Right. So Hebden's trying to stamp his foot down on the initiative.
Bishop G5, as I said, good, nice spot for the bishop.
Yeah.
Hebden brings in the last resource, Rook A8 into play.
Yep.
Queen D2 to kind of generally improve this position. And now knight G4 was played, and that looks like
A threat.
Yeah, quite a bit of threat. Bishop into G4. He cannot allow. And then question is he going to take with the H pawn and allow H5? Or is he going to take with the bishop?
Well, I don't think white can take that pawn on E4.
Why not? Oh, if I take knight CE4 after bishop G4.
You're really going to take that pawn?
I'm trying to. Knight C to E4.
You're going to take that pawn? I can't believe it.
Shall I tell the move that might defeat it?
If you must. Go for it.
No, I want to see if you find it. Otherwise,
This is not a contest between the
No, but
commentators.
no, it's not a contest. But I think that something like bishop E5 was what I was thinking.
White could castle here.
So what? Or bishop takes g4, bishop takes c3.
Giving up the fianchetto bishop. Somehow I really don't like that. Queen takes.
Bishop change.
Takes bishop. You've got a few weaknesses around your king. Castles. I don't like that, giving up the bishop, you know. I mean, that's really the most important piece in black's position usually.
So is Hebden going to play h5 to g4? And,
H takes. Wow.
And things on the commentary on the
I know. I know. I have. We're trying to. It's all under control, Jim. It's all under control.
People ring me and say, "What can I do?"
right, let's take a break from that.
For 4 minutes. Let's take a break, as we said we would.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a big decision for Hebden, isn't it? Bishop or the pawn or something else. Bishop takes knight.
He's taken with the bishop now.
Took with the bishop, yeah. So he's giving up this pawn. So, all right, so now this is the acid test. Let's be greedy and take it.
Yeah, bishop f5, you're going to play f3, aren't you?
I think I am. But I don't mind that. Let's do that. Let's do that. So
And then
bishop
f3,
F3, and now
b5. There's going to be some pressure on the queen side.
let's get some action going. Or bishop d4 to stop him from castling. Interesting move. Could easily happen, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think b5 is quite...
Followed by maybe queen g7. So black has got some action going if he takes that pawn. And Simon Williams is so used to being the aggressor in a game, you know. I have found when I've played him that he's much more uncomfortable when he's on the defensive. So maybe this is Hebden's idea. Sacrifice a pawn to get him onto the defensive. Well, as we're coming up to the break, let's see what the computer thinks. It thinks that white should castle with an advantage, a slight advantage. If he takes the pawn, bishop f5, f3, and now, as Ravi suggests, b5. Bishop d4, bishop e3, advantage to white. Well, we've got a guaranteed interesting game there. And finally, Arle versus Summerscale.
Okay. Arle versus Summerscale.
Bishop, queen e7 was the last move,
Yeah,
I think.
bishop b2,
Yeah.
allowing, and then black castle.
Castles, yep.
White played bishop f3.
Yep.
In comes queen e5.
Bishop f3. So after queen e5, he's got to go g3, yes?
See, and then now bishop h3, another
Yep.
good move. Rook e1,
Yep.
and now rook f to d8.
Rook fd8 as opposed to rook ad8.
Yeah. He's thinking that white is going to play knight to c6 at some time.
Interesting. Why rook fd8 as opposed to rook ad8?
So is there something like, okay,
What are you thinking about?
knight into d5, and then if you play knight into d5, knight into c6,
Queen takes b2.
and then knight into d8.
Let's have a look at it. So if knight takes d5, this is a bit of a crazy line. I don't think it's going to happen for a minute. Knight takes here.
Yeah.
Knight takes here.
c6, yeah.
Queen takes here.
Knight into d8. Queen into d5.
White's won the exchange. Well, okay, so knight takes d5. That looks incredibly suspicious, Ravi.
It's not my game. Yeah, I can relax.
That's one of the dodgiest moves I've seen in a long time, but it might well be good.
Let's put everybody out of misery click the engine on and then see whether they sort of they should.
No, we're coming up to the. We've got to have a break. We've got to solve this online
Yeah.
problem. It's driving everybody cuckoo here. So let's add a Kibitzer this time. Let's add. What should we add? Houdini Pro. That'll probably blow the whole computer up. There you go. Blown up already. According to the comp, this is very good for white, Ravi.
Instinct.
It looks like a move that's Aaron Summerscale has missed. Incredible discovery, Ravi. Where is the engine? Let's turn that off and come back and turn this on. Knight takes d5. Well done, Ravi. Plus 1.83. So Keith has got the chance to land an almost knockout punch here
I've been
on.
Arlen's book for Knight to the D5.
I think we've got a copy of Chess Openings Your Choice that the author can sign.
Chess openings of your choice with your signature, sir.
Well,
Knight into D5.
this is a massive moment then, because Keith can land this almost winning move on Aaron here.
Yeah.
He's obviously
But with your signature.
Huh? He's obviously completely overlooked it. That, unfortunately, is going to get a question mark from the commentary team. And with that, we're going to take a break. So it's 4:15. We'll come back at 20 to 5, and then hopefully there'll be no more glitches. We'll see you then.
Did you know the answer to my question?
No, I didn't.
Really?
Well, we'll find out later. Right. Right, okay, there we are. Let's take this. Have you got chest base on that thing?
I do indeed.
Let's move it out of the way. You can set it up.
I have space 13 on this thing.
This is dry.
I know, it's driving me nuts as well. You can't use your laptop for this.
Because you can see the power of the laptop. I've got
Oh, God, yeah, you've got everything.
Right, give us this
I'm
laptop.
giving you this laptop for the remainder of my commentary. I'm testing it. This will work with YouTube.
Yeah, but is mine not working as well?
Is yours not working?
Yeah. Why?
No, I'm asking, is that what you're telling me?
No, I don't know. I didn't. Before I set up. When did you set everything up?
Planning?
Yeah, could you? I'll come down in a minute.
So are you going to see around at 7 o'clock?
Yeah, I'm comparing helping you with your show. You know what I mean?
Sitting there saying what people say. Thank you very much for your comments. Not sure what I'm doing. I'll link it to Gareth.
It's actually a shame about this business.
You struggle with it.
Yeah, just,
Why?
I don't know why my laptop will not show the webcam. It shows everything else, but not. Never mind.
Well, that's quite interesting, isn't it?
I'm going to see whether Keith manages to find knight takes d5.
Yeah. Can you broadcast your game of the day video first?
What do you mean?
Work on the computer.
That all worked.
No, I meant if somebody put it on to broadcast it like live.